I need to take a massive gamble here. I can't just train like everyone else is training. I have to push it way further.
So we have a bit of a YouTube beef, you could say. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Go Run podcast, where I will be interviewing inspiring runners for you to listen to and learn from when you go for a run or when you're back home recovering for your next run. And I'm really happy to present Jake Barraclough all the way from Tokyo as the first guest. On his YouTube channel, Ran to Japan, he documents his relentless pursuit of marathon excellence, training harder than many of the world's best runners, running 250 kilometers or 155-mile training weeks. He just ran a 2:14 marathon and is getting closer and closer to the absolute best in the world with his train harder, not smarter approach. So I've been following you on YouTube over the last couple of months and been extremely fascinated by your dedication and approach to running. And as a coach and physiotherapist myself, I found it almost hard to believe what you are managing to do when it comes to your running volume. So I'm really curious to learn more about you and your training. But I'm guessing that you didn't start out with running 250k weeks. So let's start with how your whole running journey started in the first place.
Yeah. I guess from your perspective, physio coach, you're probably looking at what I'm doing thinking he's just breaking every rule. This is bound to go wrong. But yeah, I seem to have somehow kept it going, but it definitely started. So I used to run way back when I was younger, like as an early teenager. I used to love it. Cross country back in the UK was really popular. So I did all of that. And then I had a bad chest problem. I couldn't figure out what it was. And it ended up being, I needed surgery twice to fix this problem with one of my arteries. And it meant I couldn't run for 4 years. So pretty much for most of my teenage years, I was out of action, and that's when I picked up mixed martial arts, so MMA. There's a little bit of different kind of cross training, got really into that. And then it was only kind of after my master's at about 25 years old, I'd been sort of running on and off, like for fitness, for MMA, but not properly going all in. And then it was only I think when I was 25 years old, decided, right, I want to actually see how good I can get at running, because I realized I just loved the training. Like, it never felt like a chore to get out for a run. So I decided to quit the MMA, triple my weekly mileage, and move to Japan. So yeah, a little extreme move, but yeah, I wanted to basically see how good I could possibly get.
What brought you back to the running scene, and why did you felt like you wanted to go all in on the running?
So it was in my doing my master's out in America. There was a marathon. They had like a college national championship type thing. And I decided to enter that. And it that's when I really started thinking, okay, I'm just going to throw everything at it. Decided to do like 100 miles a week, 160 kilometers every week in, I think it was 8 weeks or whatever, leading up to the marathon. And I put my MMA a little bit on hold at that point, because I found it was just impossible doing both at the same time. Like, I'd be trying to run along with just dead legs. Like, I've been absolutely kicked to pieces, and then trying to get out for a run was near impossible. So I realized, after that marathon, I'd loved the training. And even when I was younger, my speed was useless. Like, I never had any speed on the track, hated the shorter distances. And I thought, the longer stuff's my calling. I'm basically better as the distances go up. So I realized that maybe the marathon could be the one, and wanted to see, because I love the training. And I think with MMA, I love the sparring part, but the actual drills felt more like a chore, because 90% of the time you're not just going in there having a nice little scrap with your friends. You're having to just do these endless drills, technique, grappling. Whereas it didn't feel like effort to go out for a run. It was just always fun. So I thought, if I want to pursue something all the way, I've got to love doing it every day. And I think that's what running is for me.
Okay, so you realized that you also have a real talent for these longer distances, and then you managed to withstand quite high mileage directly when you tried it the first time. But
I guess, I'm reasonably durable. That's it.
Yeah. And what ended up being your time in that first marathon?
So that was a 2:38. It was very hot. It was like 35 degrees or something on the Gulf coast of America. So I think, yeah, half the field dropped out and I managed to just outlast people, I guess. But yeah, that was brutal as a starter.
Yeah, but it's still a crazy good debut then, and then you realize that this is something you have talent for. And immediately after that first race, did you decide, okay, I'm going to take this as far as possible and go all in, or was it a process where you thought about this decision on really trying to give yourself the chance to achieve something great?
I think I've been thinking about it for a while. I'd always never properly committed to MMA or running. I'd kind of tried to do both, I think, for about 5 years or so. I'd go through phases where I'd be like obsessed with MMA, doing like 3-4 hours a day and little kind of slacking on the running, and then it would go the other way. And it meant that I never properly, I don't think, could give everything to one or the other. So I never really reached my potential in either. So I sort of realized, I think about that 25 as well, I was coming to the end of uni in America. I was getting to the point where I need to start thinking about, right, I've got to get a job after this. I can't just keep living like a student forever, even though that would have been the dream. But then I think that's when it clicked that I'm gonna have to commit to either stop running completely, do MMA all the way, or stop that and basically see where I could go with running.
And this was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or how long was it?
Yeah, it was, it must have been 2.5 years ago. Actually, just when I decided then to quit MMA and start running properly, I tore my hip. So I had to have 8 months off entirely from running. So yeah, classic timing. So then it was really...
That was sort of an overuse injury you got then, or?
I'm not sure. I think it was partly a genetic thing, like the shape of my hips. I think I had loads of scans and stuff, and they said that I had really narrow hips. I was kind of predetermined, I think, to that, because it was before I'd even started going crazy with the mileage. Like I was still on relatively low. And then, yeah, I guess it was just one of those sort of freak type injuries. So then it's been, I think, 2 years now coming back from that surgery and just building it up from there, moving to Japan.
Yeah. And after you did your university studies in America, then you moved home for a bit to UK, or?
Yeah, I had maybe 6 months or so back home in the UK before moving out here.
Did you already then know that you were going to move to Japan, or was it a plan you have had for a while to go there?
It was actually when I was training for that marathon in America. I listened to this audio book, The Way of the Runner, which is about Japanese running. Because before then, I didn't have a clue. I'd never heard of this as like a hotspot or anything. Like, didn't know anything about it. But then after that, I kind of was just obsessed with it. I couldn't believe how good they were in comparison to the Brits, especially at the marathon and half marathon. So I was just kind of fascinated. I wanted to learn all about the training, and then applied for this program to come out here, and was in the process of that while I was back home in the UK. But my mind was set at that point in Japan. I was just seeing this UK time is just a filler, but I need to get out here, start training like the marathon monks in Japan.
So when you started to learn more about Japanese marathon running and the running culture there, you felt a calling to go there, and and you think it's the best place for you to really pursue a career as a marathon runner?
Yeah, I think so. Just looking at the number of people they've got running sub 2:10 marathons, it's like hundreds compared to a couple in the UK. Same with most of the European countries. You've got a couple guys max that are under that kind of 2:10 barrier, whereas here they just make it look like light work. So I'm just thinking they've got to be doing something right. There's something going on in Japan. Why they've got, outside of Kenya and Ethiopia, they're probably the third best in the world. And so I thought, this is the place to be.
Yeah, like in Sweden, where I come from, or Norway, where I live, if someone runs a sub 2:10 marathon, then it's a really famous runner in these countries. And I guess in Japan, you're just another guy running a sub 2:10.
Exactly, just average, your standard marathon runner.
Yeah, and I think I don't know that much about Japanese running culture, but I've heard it partly from your channel, and I heard about those Ekiden big relays and how big running is there, and how many really good runners there really are there. And I think it's actually here in the Western countries, it's not talked that much about how like what a running power nation Japan is, and that's why I think your channel is really cool as well. That enlightens runners all over the world about this pretty cool running culture they have going over there. And how would you describe yours and like the general Japanese running philosophy?
It's sort of, I'd say the backbone's very high mileage, which is something that I've got all behind. I think a lot of them on paper, they shouldn't be running the marathon times that they are. If you look at their 5K times, 10K times, they're way, way behind the Europeans, the Americans. So speed-wise, they shouldn't be able to perform as well as they do in a marathon, but they're massively outperforming us. And I think that's almost entirely down to just running so much more. The train harder approach that they've gone for, just clocking these huge, like 1,000 kilometers a month, so like 250K weeks, is like the sort of gold standard here. And when you're just putting in that much volume, I think it helps the marathon so much that that's sort of the big sort of cornerstone. And then these Ekiden relays. So you have tons of like semi-professional sort of pro runners here, maybe like 1,000 in Japan. Whereas back home, it's so hard to make a living from running. You've got a couple guys maybe with shoe sponsors. And then the rest of people are just amateurs trying to work a like full-time job, 40-hour week, and then fit a marathon training in, which is near impossible. Whereas here, they're just way more supported. There's all these teams that are sponsored by companies. So it's just a much more supportive network, effectively, that's like set up to help you run well.
And your personal training philosophy, have you like fully adapted the Japanese way of running marathon? Do you train really similar to other top marathoners in Japan, or do you have your own twist on it?
Yeah, even actually back when I was in the UK, before I came out here, I tried to start implementing their type of training because I saw that I was a lot like them, that I lacked the speed. But I think what I realized quite quickly was I'm very durable. I don't know if it's from the MMA maybe, or like genetics or what, but I seem to be able to withstand the high mileage. So I saw that as, I guess, a talent in a way that I need to buy all the way into that and just outwork people who are much quicker than me on the track to then run, hopefully, like better marathon times than them. So I've effectively gone and copied the like old school Japanese guys. I've been for the Tokyo Marathon, I followed a guy from the 1970s, like a proper old school Japanese legend, and effectively followed all of his training, the similar mileage, the same workouts, these like long tempo runs, and just pretty much was like, if it worked for him, then I think it can work for me, and just followed that and seemed to, I was hitting a lot of PBs over this marathon block. So I got to, thank the old school legend.
That's cool that you brought inspiration from a really legendary runner then, and I think it's clearly working for you. And talking about this training philosophy, I would actually want to challenge you a bit, because first of all, you end your videos with saying train harder, not smarter. That's your like approach. So we have a bit of a YouTube beef, you could say, because I end my videos with saying train smarter. But I would actually want to argue that even though your training, of course, is super hard, you're really pushing the limits, I would also say that you're training in a super smart way. I mean, you decided to try to learn from runners who have similar profile like yours, not being super fast in those shorter distances, like you say, and also like ramping up the mileage and really testing what your boundaries are. And clearly you have found like a recipe that, at least for now, works really well for yourself. So I would say you're training really smart, hard and smart.
I've got to be honest, I probably agree, but the catchphrase just sounds a lot cleaner with train harder, not smarter. But to break the fourth wall, I think I'm with you. I do actually think it's quite calculated. But it works for YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool catchphrase. So I think you should keep that for sure. But I also want to, like, because oftentimes like train smart people link that with not training hard, but for if you want to like become the best marathon runner you can be, of course you need to train crazy mileage like yourself and really push the boundaries. And if you like you are really pursuing like an elite career, it's not smart to always play it safe. You need to find your boundaries and see how much you can tolerate also. And clearly you seem to be able to withstand a lot of training. So you just ran the Tokyo Marathon. So was it a couple of weeks ago or?
Yeah, it was probably a month now. Start of March.
And a new PB of 2:14.
Yeah, 2:14.52, I think.
And I've been following your videos. If I understand it correctly, you were not entirely happy with that time, and also seeing what you did in training prior, you are probably able to run even faster than that. If it's not, it was a really warm day, if I understood it correctly. That made it tough for you.
Yeah, we just had a little freakish sort of mini heat wave. Not hot, really, but like if you look at it on a global scale, but compared to the training I've been doing in freezing conditions pretty much all winter, we had this sudden spike, and then classic since then it's been cold again. Like this week, yeah, freezing colds. It dropped straight back down. I think we had the snow week the week after Tokyo, but that just hit me pretty hard. I'm not great in the heat anyway, and that last 10k got pretty brutal. But I mean, yeah, a PB's good. At least it's heading in the right direction. I think it leaves a lot more time on the table that I think if I execute a perfect race next time, just need to get back to that shape for the next marathon and then, yeah, jump in again.
It was still, as you say, a big PB, although yours wasn't 100% satisfied, and you're getting really close to those real elite time. At least, maybe not in Japan. Then there are a couple of guys faster. But if you look in the UK and Europe, you're at a really high level now. Have you started looking at what's the next goal? Do you have another marathon signed up for?
Yeah, I've got actually 2 I've just signed up for. I'll hold off giving it away because I'll do a video about them. I can't reveal that yet, but there's 2 reasonably soon that I've got lined up. I love racing all the time, so almost every weekend I'm doing some kind of race. Most of them aren't target races. A lot of them I just do for training because I think it's so much easier to push yourself in a race than it is just like on your own or like slogging it around the park, like endless laps. So I've got plenty of training marathons, half marathons, all of that coming up. And then, yeah, a couple sort of major goals where I'll be trying to, target that PB. Okay,
so we'll have to follow on your YouTube channel journey to see what's next then. But it's in not that long time you will give it another attempt then, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not really a 2 marathon a year kind of guy. Like, I know a lot of the sort of top pros do. I want to get back out there ASAP.
Yeah. As you say, we see many of like the world's best marathoners running us like 2 marathons a year. Do you think this like high mileage training is what allows you to recover and actually have several attempts on the marathon during a year?
Yeah, I think it's sort of the difference between a full out effort like a Tokyo Marathon where I just gave it absolutely everything. That's been a pretty rough comeback. Like I actually had my first little kind of injury, but then even after an injury and I'd say most of March off, I feel like now I'm bouncing straight back. And I think that's probably just from having this big base of mileage that means that obviously a marathon takes a lot out of you, but I don't think it takes as much out of me as maybe some other runners who are much lower mileage. Whereas when I'm running a marathon almost every week in training for a long run, that kind of thing, then it just conditions your body, I guess, to just taking that impact.
So yeah, that's really cool that you actually managed to recover, because I saw in your video that you struggled with the knee, and then I thought, oh no, now he's maybe out for a month, and then you're striking directly back to high training again. So that's good to see that you're still going strong after that Tokyo Marathon.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and I was worried as well. I thought this could be the first proper big injury. I thought, we could be looking at a couple months, which isn't great for the YouTube when my whole channel is based around these races. But then luckily, yeah, I actually ran a marathon on the weekend as my first sort of training run back. And I've held up all right. So yeah, the body seems to have recovered okay.
So already back to marathon distance in training. That sounds promising if you can keep at it. But I'm guessing that at least during the phase where you went from that hip injury to ramping up to really high weekly volumes, that you experienced some like not real injuries, but some like aches here and there, and was it a lot of that, or have you been pretty much pain-free since you started running so much?
Yeah, actually interesting. I was talking about this in this week's video that I've just been kind of recording at the moment, because that comeback was pretty rough after the hip surgery. At least the first couple months, almost every run I was feeling my hip, because even though it healed after surgery, I guess there's so much scar tissue and everything, and it's not been used for ages. So at first I'm like, oh, have I retorn it? Or there was almost every run I'd say I'm in discomfort. And then even once the hip cleared up, there'd be like calf problems, hamstring, quads. It seemed like at some point, every part of my leg hurt from the build up for, I think it was basically 0K in March to over 200K by July. So it's a fairly, not your recommended increase.
No, I haven't recommended any patients to build up like that as a physio, but
I can't say I'm surprised. I kind of pushed through all the aches, pains, basically ignored all the advice that a physio would give or any running coach, because in my head I saw it as, I'm currently a 2:38 marathoner. It's a great time, but if I had aspirations of trying to take it to like the top level, I'm so far off that I need to take a massive gamble here. I can't just train like everyone else is training. I have to push it way further, keep running through these injuries, because I think the most important thing for progression is just consistency. It's literally about prolonged time of good training. It doesn't need to be amazing training. You just got to stay injury free, which I think from that hip surgery to literally this little knee problem that I had here, I had effectively 2 years where I missed a handful of days training, but averaged well over 200K a week for 2 years, which you can't help but improve just with that consistency.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. And as you said, like many like physios and coaches like myself, and don't recommend people running through injuries, but it's also a hard balance, because as you say, a lot of injuries, like small niggles or what you should call them, like many runners experience different kinds of pains, and in many of these cases, if you continue running and just keep the consistency and it doesn't get worse for every run, it can often, like you say, like it can often disappear from continued running. But that's always a really hard balance, because there are also these injuries like the Achilles problems, for example, that can become into really problematic chronic injuries if you just push. But there are maybe as many cases where the best thing is to just keep running through it. The hard thing is knowing when to stop and when to go, and this is not something that you can have like a recipe for either, because it's so different. All bodies are made different, and maybe if you experience one kind of pain and another guy experiences a similar kind of pain, that guy, he really needs to stop, and for you it's fine to keep going. Like in my younger years, when I was pursuing an elite career as an orienteering runner, I struggled with so many injuries. But what I found out later in my career, that at least some of those injuries, when I just said to the hell with it and just tried to continue running through them, okay, it stopped after a month of pain. Now I'm fine. For example, I had like really severe like shin splints problem that for some can develop to like stress fracture and so, and it's really, but for me, when I still have it now and then, and if I just keep running, it goes away. So it's also a journey to learn your own body signal, and I'm not saying that you should run through all pain, but it's not necessarily a super stupid thing to do in all cases, and it's cool to hear how it worked out for you.
It's very much individual. It's almost a bit of trial and error. It's a bit like you saying you learnt it over years. It's the same, I guess, because I've been running since I was like 10 years old. I feel like I've had all these injuries at some point over the years. I've had every, calf problem, knee, Achilles, hip, so I've kind of felt what they feel like. So now when I get some kind of ache or pain, I remember, okay, what did I do last time? What rehab helped it? Do I need to drop the volume down? Do I need to drop the intensity? So it's almost like you're just learning from past experience of, this worked this time, this didn't. So now I feel like I've got a good sort of formula for what works for me. But then, I definitely don't try this at home. People listening, if you're, just trying to smash through every pain, it could get a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those cases, do as I say and don't like I do. But yeah, for sure, for people wanting to really push the boundaries, it's you need to experiment and find out what works for you. And like you say, it's a journey of learning to know your own body and your own signals, and learning what kind of pain signals that is a big red flag that you need to listen to, and what's okay, this is fine as long as it doesn't get worse. Okay, so if I get it correctly from watching your videos, you're on some sort of like internship in Japan and do some work as well besides the running and the YouTube channel?
It's actually just finished. So this month, so the total program was a year and a half. I don't know how I got into it, very lucky, but it's literally the perfect program. So fully funded, you get like a monthly stipend type thing. And I studied kind of full-time at a Japanese language school, maybe 30 hours a week of studies. Actually, when I came out here, I'd wanted to start my YouTube right at the beginning, but then found that I had these Japanese classes like all day, and then I was trying to fit in 20 hours plus of running, and it just ended up taking up all the time. So it was only the last 6 months of the scholarship we had a bit more freedom, where I then realized, okay, I've got a bit of time now, I want to kickstart the YouTube. And luckily, the YouTube's just, taken off, I guess, in a way. I'm very thankful to all my viewers, subscribers, for how quickly it's grown, because now I can kind of support myself through YouTube. The cost of living is pretty low in Tokyo, luckily. So that's kind of my main thing at the moment, the YouTube. And I want to get to a point where I can get a shoe contract, sponsor, and effectively go pro as a runner.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about the YouTube channel, because obviously I'm interested in YouTube as well after having a running YouTube channel for many years myself. And first of all, your YouTube channel is really great. If there are any listeners to this who hasn't checked out Run to Japan, that's your YouTube channel's name, you really need to do it, because you are a great storyteller, and it's so fascinating following your journey and also getting to learn more about the Japanese culture and how people train over there. So I think it took you like less than 6 months to reach 50,000 subscribers. Is that right?
Yeah, crazy.
For me, it took 6 years, but but yeah. So I'm so impressed at what you have managed to do there, and the community you managed to build, and I'm not surprised looking at your presenting skills and editing skills and everything. So did you have? You said that you have fought for a bit of time before to start the YouTube channel. Is it something you have fought for a long time about before you started, or?
I actually so I studied at uni for my master's was business, and I focused particularly on sports marketing. And I felt like actually that was probably the most useful thing for YouTube, because you had a lot of freedom to study whatever business you wanted. So I was looking at sports teams and looking at successful things like the UFC, so the top mixed martial arts organization, and trying to see why running wasn't popular in a way for a sport with such high participation, probably the most participated sport in the world, but then the actual interest in it seems to be super low in comparison. And it was just this mismatch. And then I did a whole load of research, actually finally, into channels like yours and other YouTube, like Ben is Running, Philly Bowden, all the sort of top running YouTubers, seeing what they were doing well, why their channels had taken off. And then I put together a whole probably a 10-page document of all the sort of the storytelling aspects, the editing side of things, all these kind of things. This is way before I even came to Japan, because I had this idea that I wanted to start a YouTube, because I thought at that point that I'd probably never get to a point where I could make a career as a pro runner. Like as a 238 guy, I'm so far off, but thought that I could make a career from running, like make a living with the social media side from YouTube effectively. So that's the sort of angle I was going down, and then realized there's such a niche in Japan of this crazy running culture that no English speaking creator was basically talking about. And I kind of saw it as this angle where if I could learn about it and document my own training, pretty much tell a story. I think that's what it is. People engage with a storyline if you just are completely transparent, completely honest. Actually, I try to with my videos just be as authentic as possible, tell my story of trying to climb the ranks, go from this sort of amateur runner to like a pro runner, I guess. And in the process also learn about the Japanese running scene and share that with the world, because it's this bubble that I felt like could be super popular because it's so different, so unique, but at the moment just no one knows about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. You seem to have a very like analytical mindset both when it comes to your running and like how you research YouTube before starting with that. And I really think that you're right, that it's still a bit of an underserved market. And especially when I started doing more running content 3 or 4 years ago and trying to reach a broader audience, then it was for sure such a underserved market. If you look at how popular, as you say, the sport is, and how many are into the sport, and how little content and how little views running content was getting on different platforms like YouTube. But I think it's happened something the last couple of years where like running YouTube has like exploded with so many creators, and like yourself, but you are one of those who has really managed to like stick out and quickly build an audience. And I guess it's probably because you, as you say, you analyzed what content you like, and you really are hitting into that authentic feeling in your videos. It's a real journey that you get to follow along.
Yeah, I'm amazed how quickly it's kind of grown. I definitely did not expect that at all when I started it. I thought, it could take years and years, because I've seen how difficult it can be to grow on YouTube. So I think I just got lucky with this niche that I hit. And then I think it's easier once you get rolling. It's almost the beginning bit, getting the first few videos, because definitely at the start it was the first video might have got 10k views or so, but then it kind of progressively went up and up from there as I guess people started talking more about it, maybe like sharing it with friends and stuff. And I just tried to see as much I watch all the other running YouTubers basically and just learn from them. But I think in the end, just being as authentic to myself. And now I don't massively script out the videos too much. I think I have like bullet points. I don't know. I get the impression yours are very well produced. Like you've got the cinematic sort of, editing storyline. Mine are a bit more freestyled. And then I have to somehow work it together in the edit, create a story out of it. But I just love running YouTube. It's cool.
I think, like you say, I think it actually has very little to do with luck with your success on YouTube. As I see it, I think the YouTube algorithm is great at figuring out what videos people actually like and engage with, and they really hit the nail on the finger. And for sure, my videos are often like more scripted out, and that's partly because I'm doing more like educational stuff, but also because maybe if you listen to this podcast, it's clear that English isn't my first language. So if I start riffing off it, I quickly lose the train of thought just because I'm struggling to find the words sometimes. So no, for me, it has been sort of a necessary thing to on at least big parts of the videos script it words for word to be able to communicate more precise. And I also think that has been a bit of a strength, because that is something that very few other channels do that, especially if it's more like educational based videos. It's good to have more like more structure, but it's for sure a bit of a different niche, like you're going for more like following your personal journey and your really being authentic and being yourself. And I think that's the best way to build like a loyal following with what you're doing, actually, because people want to get to know you and want to learn more about your process.
I appreciate that. I'm very impressed. The fact that, you're doing this in a second language. I've realized how hard that is after starting learning Japanese. And it's so painfully slow, the progress. So I couldn't even imagine trying to talk in Japanese. No one would watch.
But I guess it's much harder for you to learn Japanese than it is for people living in Norway like I do to speak English, because I mean when we were little we see English on TV and listen to English music and so I think you're up for a bigger challenge, but it's impressive that I've seen on your videos that you're managing to communicate well, it seems, on Japanese, so that's impressive.
It's the power of the edit. I can chop out all the mistakes. That's the power of YouTube.
And also with the YouTube channel, before you started, did you have any experience of filming and editing, or because I think like right from the gate the quality was really high on what you were producing?
So I had basically the 6 months that I was in the UK, I was doing short form videos like Instagram, YouTube Shorts. So that's how I sort of learned the editing process, basically over those 6 months. And actually before that, I had a channel. I used to make music, and so I had a YouTube channel that actually I turned later into this current Run to Japan one. So I guess I had some experience in sort of basic editing before, and then picked it up over, I guess, that 6 months, because I wanted to, when I released my first YouTube video full length, I wanted it to be a certain quality, I guess, like level, because that's what I noticed from the bigger YouTubers. That was what a lot of it distinguished them. It was the edit was just so much cleaner, so much more engaging, because no one wants to just watch someone running around a track for laps, like reading out times. You need something more interesting, more cuts, more angles, which I realized was quite an important part of YouTube.
Yeah. And it's clear you really hit a good quality out of the gate there, and it's impressive. So I think you have some sort of talent for like that storytelling and editing as well. And you talk about that you dream of becoming a pro athlete, and if I understand correctly, right now you're able to like sustain a living from the YouTube channel and the income from that.
Yeah, that's right. So luckily I've got some sponsors recently for the Tokyo Marathon build. And then obviously, you get the ad revenue from YouTube. So scraping by, doing okay.
Yeah, and I would say like I think that if the big running brands wake up and realize that we're living in 2025, you should already be a pro runner, because like the outreach you have on your platforms and how many people listen and want to hear your opinions of things, I think you would be such a like valuable guy to sign for one of the big shoe brands. But I think they are sometimes living in a like early 2000 world where the only thing that matters is like finishing high in championships and so. But for me, to be honest, for like Nike or Adidas or any of these shoe brands, I think they would get a lot more for every single dollar paying you as a pro runner than someone finishing 8th in the Olympics, because no one knows who that person is. And so it's if any of the people working on those big running brands listen, you should hit up Jake. I think you're already there for being a pro runner when it comes both to like your really impressive results and your progress you're heading into and the outreach you have.
Hopefully we can sign something soon. I go through far too many shoes. I could do with some free shoes for one thing.
Yeah. Now when you have started working with sponsors also, do you also like see this that like some part of the running industry is not like really seeing the power of social media, and that it's clear that some brands have realized it, but as I see it, many of these like big, more traditional brands are not there yet and seeing the value of it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I've spoken to some brands, yeah, and they definitely just seem to be so old school with the thinking. But I think I have the exact same view as you, that even though I'm so into running, absolutely love it, I could barely name half of the medalists of the last few marathon majors or any top competitions, guys that are getting all the money a lot of the time from the shoe companies. Yet, are they actually selling those shoes? Like, is anyone really buying the shoes because this runner who comes fourth in a world major is wearing them? Whereas some of the YouTubers, I can guarantee they're having much, much more of an impact when they're pulling in, 50,000 views every week on a video. The amount of eyes then on them as like a spokesman for a brand, if they're rocking a Nike tee, an Adidas tee, the shoes, that's got to be having so much more of an impact.
Yeah. I'm not saying that like the brand should stop sponsoring these elite athletes. Of course, it's good if they can be supported in their running journey. But I also see so many places, runners and other athletes like complaining that I'm at this level, but I still can't make a living out of my sport. Like especially in running in Europe, if you're not one of the best, it's hard to make a living from it. But what you have done, it is that you have like created you're running and focusing on that, but you also have created some sort of value. You're inspiring 10,000 or 50,000 people with like every video you post, and then you provide some sort of value, and then you also become more attractive for brands. So I find it quite hard listening to those athletes who complain and compare to maybe footballers who earn crazy amounts of money, because that's an entertainment industry, and I don't see why brands would sponsor someone for being out running for 4 hours by themselves each day. Like you're not providing any value besides to yourself. Of course, it's good if brands want to support it, but it's more of a charity than a good business decision.
Yeah, that's what, from when I was doing all this research into brands and other sports, like you just realize sport is the entertainment industry. It's all about economics. It's how many eyes are on you realistically. That's why the top, football players and these other sports, people want to watch them, and you got to somehow create a storyline around that. So I'm massively into MMA, and it's what I thought the UFC, I don't know, have you heard of like the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship? So I thought that's what they did so well around all of their fighters, that you want to tune in and watch them because of the whole build up. So all the fighters, they film vlogs with them in the lead up to fights. They create mini documentaries around them. So you have these unknown guys joining the UFC, but then after a few weeks, you suddenly have this attachment to them simply because someone's put a camera on them. They've created a storyline. It's not like they have to have the wackiest personality. You've obviously got like the Conor McGregors, but then there's also people that are just very normal guys that you still root for because they're just showing their authentic self pretty much on camera. And it's just about documenting that. So that's what I sort of realized that running was just so bad at. I thought you can't engage with the top runners if you know nothing about them. If we just see them running a race for 2 hours and that's it, and then you never hear from them again after, you never see the build up, you don't know about any of the struggles, the come up, how they got there, how can we engage with them?
Yeah, for sure. The running industry can for sure learn a lot, and even now we see like people like Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Josh Kerr jumping in on YouTube. Maybe probably their team says to them that you need to be on YouTube and produce things, but then it's such unauthentic videos. It's clear that it's a big production team coming in, and it's like, okay, this is not what the viewers want. They want to feel like they're on the inside, getting to know you for real.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've got some rivals, but then when you watch like a Josh Kerr YouTube video, it couldn't be more different from the authentic YouTube style, which people like the more gritty. It doesn't have to be insanely polished, overproduced. and it just feels like it's like acting almost. The videos, you don't really get to know him as a person.
Yeah, and that's probably the reason why your videos get more views than like the people who are like the most famous runners or the best runners in the world competing at the biggest scene. So yeah, that's really cool. Okay, we could probably talk about like YouTube and this side of running forever, but let's move on to a segment that I call best and worst. So let's start with what has been your best ever experience when running, Jake?
Oh, I think actually that very first marathon in America. So actually, ended up winning that first race, and I think because for so long during like the injury time, I had these 4 years off for the surgery, and then coming back from that, I was obviously so unfit and tried to run and just had so many bad races, like years and years and years where I just wasn't running properly. I was trying to do the MMA, a bit of both. And I just felt like I hadn't had a good race since I was about 12 years old, like back in cross country days. And then that race was finally like I threw everything into it with the training, like these 100-mile weeks leading in, and then managed to win it. And so that was probably the most satisfying because it felt like it had finally gone right. I still think that's probably the only marathon I'd say I've performed to my potential. I think even though I've got much quicker now, I've not, after any of these last 3 marathons I've done since being in Japan, I haven't been satisfied. I still feel like I've been defeated by the marathon every time. So I still, need to properly smash one out the park to say that that's now my best.
So it's a feeling you want to work hard to get again, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the fun of it. It doesn't come easy, but when it does, it'll be more satisfying.
Yeah, that's a cool thing with running, that you struggle so much and have so many training runs where you just want to go home, but it's all worth it when you get that feeling you're describing there, when everything works out. You have worked hard for something and managed to perform the way you want. And let's move on to what's the worst experience you ever had in a pair of running shoes?
It has to be one of the 2 injuries, either the hip tear or the chest problem, just because I think the hip tear was so frustrating because it was just when I decided I'm going to throw everything at running. Like I was really motivated. I was ready to move out to Japan. Like I'd fully committed to, I want to go all in on this running. And then that was just taken away completely. And just the months of cross training on the indoor bike, I couldn't even go outside on like an outdoor bike because I had to be stable with my hips. Like it had to be super controlled. And I just hated every second of the bike. I'm not a fan of cross training. Like I purely do it out of necessity to stay fit. But I don't think I can ever set foot on an indoor bike again. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I ever get a major injury because I just used up all mental power for those 8 months or whatever to get through it.
Yeah. And talking about like mental power and the mental aspects of running, I think that you say that you're probably not the most physically talented runner, but it seems like you have a really big talent when it comes to the mental side of things. And your like overall mindset, not only to push yourself really hard in training, doing these massive weeks and doing hard work day by day, but also how you manage to push yourself in races. Like in this recent marathon you ran when you got your PB in Tokyo, if I understood it correctly, you don't even remember the last part of the race and ended up in the medical tent. So talk a bit about what do you think this like mental toughness and being this mental strong, where it comes from?
Yeah, I guess that's one aspect of running. I don't know if you can train it. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's just something I've always had. I'm so unbelievably competitive. Like even from when I was like 3 years old, 4 years old, I just couldn't lose. I absolutely hated losing in sport. Like I didn't care about school. Like if I do badly in a test, it couldn't bother me. But if it's something that I care about, which has always been sport, whether it was football, rugby, MMA, running, like if I'm passionate about something, then I just want to give absolutely everything to it. Like I'm willing to just suffer, go through any amount of pain to win or whatever. Like basically, yeah, do whatever it takes to get there. So I guess that's just, yeah, I guess I'm lucky that I kind of have that slightly psychotic mindset that for marathon running is ideal. That's what you want.
Yeah, that's for sure a real talent you got there. But do you have any like mind tricks you play with yourself during a really hard training session or at the later stages of a marathon to like keep pushing through those dark places that we all have been to?
Yeah, like I listen to a lot of other podcasts and other pro runners and stuff, and I've heard them talking about different mental techniques. I've never had anything. I don't even know what I think when I'm in pain. I think it's literally just I'm telling myself, don't quit. Just like if I ease off the pace, that's quitting in my head. So I just can't let myself down basically because I'm doing it for me, running in a way. It's only for personal fulfillment that I want to be as good as I can possibly be. So then I have to just give everything I can possibly give in a marathon when it's like just so painful. Like I know, yeah, if I can just get to the finish line, it's only a temporary pain. I mean, with Tokyo Marathon, it lasted for maybe an hour after, but still short term. So it's, yeah, in the moment, it's horrendous. But then I know after the race, I'll be glad that I did absolutely kill myself to get there as fast as I could.
So it's basically using that classic quote, pain is temporary, glory lasts forever.
Exactly, that's the one.
That's good. Okay, so Jake, I would like to ask you a bit of personal advice because in a couple of days, actually this upcoming Sunday, I'm planning to run my first ever road marathon in Hanover in Germany. And let's just say that I have not applied this Japanese high volume training. I basically average like 40 to 50 kilometers and most of it on trails the last couple of months. I had planned to do much more than that, but I have caught the flu twice this winter and yeah, basically a lot of excuses, but I haven't done the work. Let's just say that, which is not smart in any way, but I still think that I will run the race because I booked the flight tickets and all, and I would want to experience a road marathon after only running like longer forest races and so on. And I've been running many long ultra races, like 100-kilometer races in the mountains and in the forest, but I've never tried to run a like hard surface flat 42 kilometer, and to be honest this really scares me because I know that I can go forever in the forest, but those hard asphalt and pavements tend to kill my legs. But I just wanted to know, do you have any general advice for me, you who have a way more marathon racing experience than me? Is there anything that I should be aware of?
I mean, at least if you think about it mentally, the distance isn't a problem. I think for a lot of people, it's the worry is getting it done. It's the challenge of the 42K. That's a long way. Whereas, yeah, I've seen some of your videos. Like, that's nothing compared to some of these crazy long distances. So then it's just about pacing it, I guess. You want to feel as comfy as possible that first half of the race, because at 30K, that's when it can go horribly wrong. I've still not got it right. I think every time I've been defeated by the 30K wall, and that's where the pace has just dropped off. So you just want to feel as comfy as possible, get as many fluids in, as much fueling early. I guess you've had a lot of practice with the longer stuff, just, yeah, getting that almost while you don't feel you need it earlier in the race, preload as many carbs as possible to then, yeah, basically sustain you when it does get very tough at the end.
Yeah. Thanks for the advice, and yeah, that's I'm not afraid for like the duration. It's more like the because marathon running is a completely different thing from running shorter distances and also running like on trails and so, because you really like those muscles really really pound them to the to the asphalt, and that's also why like your high mileage approach I really think is the way to go for if you want to achieve anything in the marathon, because you really need to build up that sort of toughness, in muscular toughness, because last week I tried in a desperate attempt to do like some marathon training, and did like 15 kilometer at what I thought was going to be an withstandable marathon pace for me, which is like I'm hoping to at least be running under 3 hours, and I ran that for 15 kilometers, and after 12 kilometers my calves are like, you're not doing this anymore. So, but hopefully they learned the lesson from that one session, so I can survive.
You got that last minute training just to condition the body. I can guarantee there'll be enough adrenaline on race day. You'll feel good during it. After, that might be a different story. You probably will be a little sore, but hopefully the body holds up during.
But hopefully, like I'm planning that I probably will have problem walking afterwards, but most of those are like muscular damage that heals really quickly as well. So I'm trying to convince myself that I will not cause myself a long-term injury. We'll see. See how it goes.
Yeah, good luck for that. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be
thanks,
fine.
Jake. We'll see. It'll probably be a video on the YouTube channel, so we'll see if you want to see me suffer. So I wanted to end with talking a bit about what you see in terms of goals and so long term for yourself, because now you have had an like incredible marathon progression quite quickly, going from 2:38 to 2:14, and feeling that you are able to do even better right now. When it comes to your running, what do you dream of? Like if you see a 5-year horizon?
Okay, so for this year, I want to go sub 210 is like a big goal. In my mind, that's like the elite marathon cutoff, just in my head. I think even if I was to get a full-time shoe sponsor now, it wouldn't feel like I've fully earned it in a way, because I still think my YouTube will have played a part in that. The fact that I have a presence on YouTube, which is amazing. Like, it's unreal if I can get a sponsor with that.
But you basically want the feeling that a brand is sponsoring you for you as an athlete, and not just
exactly
YouTube.
Because as much as I love my YouTube, that will always come second to my performances. Like, that's at the end of the day what I care about the most, is just running as quick as possible. So this year it's, I guess, time based, but then looking forward, I want to represent GB, like Olympics, world champs. I don't know where my talent barrier is, but that's why I'm throwing everything at it, because I want to see if I can get to that level where I can like represent the UK and in like major championships and stuff, and pretty much just see how good I can possibly be, and just reach that eventual. Because running, as much as you can train hard, there's a point where just genetics, talent comes in. You have like that ceiling, but I think very few people reach that, which is sort of where the train harder philosophy came from, in that to really get everything out of yourself, you've got to take a massive gamble, take this risk, like hit these insane mileage to then see how good you can possibly be. So that's my sort of, my long-term thinking.
Yeah, that's cool. It would be really cool to see you in the Olympics, representing GB in the future, and like with your progression and what you're doing, it seem really doable. Also, of course, it's a lot of work, and you're putting in the work every single day. But I believe in you. I think you will get there if you continue to dream big and work hard. And talking about that, I think you're such an inspiration for me, and for hopefully all of people listening to this, and for many people following your channel, that you did something that most people never do in their life, that you actually went all in for your dreams, and like you say, took risk, moved to a foreign country, and really did it. Do you have any advice to some people who like you have big dreams and want to achieve things? What they should think about?
Oh yeah, I think it's just, I just can't see myself and never could see myself working a job that I don't enjoy. It just doesn't see, like, I don't see the point in that. It doesn't matter how much money you pay me if you're spending 90% of your life hating what you're doing. Like, what's the point? Like, you don't even have the time to spend the money then. So I'd rather just go all in and actually love what I'm doing every day, which is like running for me. Yeah, it's so hard at times, but it's still fun. Like, there's never a moment where I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered to go out for a run, because it's just, I see it as like a stepping stone in the process to get as good as possible. It's like, I know I need to get out every day. I need to do these 2 runs because that's how I'm going to get there. So I think for whatever you have a passion in, you might as well just throw everything at it, go for it, and sort of take the risk. Because yeah, you've got nothing to lose. You can always fall back if it doesn't work out to your old job or whatever the situation is. But yeah, I think you'll be a lot more satisfied enjoying what you're doing than chasing stuff like money or like the traditional route, because that's what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear, and as you say, it's a really good motivation to when you have found that sort of freedom doing what you actually want with your day and with your life, that you don't want to go back back to sitting in a corporate office working for making someone else rich on something you don't even care about. So it's cool with people who actually go for their dreams like you, Jake, and it's been super fun chatting with you. We could probably talk way more, but maybe since you're the first ever guest now on the podcast, it would be cool to have you back on in the future, maybe when you have got that sub 210 or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is an honor to be first guest, and it's very cool since I've been watching your YouTube for ages. This is a full circle moment.
That's cool to hear. So how should we end it? Should we say train smart or train hard?
Yeah, we've got slightly conflicting outros here, don't we?
Yeah. If I say train smart and you say train hard.
Perfect. There we go.
Train smart.
Train hard.
That's great.
There we go.
Thanks, Jake.